Jakki, thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
You are the talent partner for River Island. Tell us a bit about how you got into the role.
So I started out, like most people do, Saturday job in a retailer down Oxford Street, and then from there I moved into recruitment as a full-time job. Then I combined the two. So I was at Debenhams working for them, doing their resourcing, and from Debenhams I then moved into River Island doing their resourcing.
Fantastic. And was it something that you knew you wanted to do from the get-go?
Not quite. Definitely had an interest in fashion since working in it for a good couple of years throughout all my studies and stuff like that. But then I got into recruitment by accident, you know, looking for your first job after graduating, and thought I'll do this for a little bit. Then actually discovered I really liked it. It was just what I was recruited for wasn't so great. Hotels and computers, neither of which were my speciality. So put that together with fashion retail, and here I am.
Fantastic. So you said that you've moved from quite a few different companies. What has been the biggest difference that you've noticed from the types of...
I think more so about being accepted as an individual, you know, because retail has, I think, had this persona where you had to, you know, if you were a lady, you would wear, you know, your 3/4 length skirt and 3/4 length blouse, stand behind a till, you know, and be helpful, you know, and it's so not that anymore. And especially working with River Island now, you get, you know, the very, like, blue-haired, tattooed, you know, pierced, or, you know, all over type of cashier. So it's breaking away from, you know, what should be, so to speak, and just, you know, having individuals and people that look a bit more like you, I suppose.
Yeah. And did you start out in fashion? Did you study fashion? Or was that something?
So no, like with all things, I went to university and did something completely different. I've got a degree in religious studies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My original thought process was that I was going to be a teacher.
Okay.
RE teacher, so, you know, the most interesting of subjects. And yeah, did the degree and then thought, actually, I've had enough of this and wanted to, you know, do something a bit different. Love the fashion, and I was working in fashion at the time, so kind of stayed there for a while, and then thought, actually, want something different, move into recruitment. So it kind of evolved quite a bit.
But I quite like the fact that you have kind of created, you know, combine your two loves and made that into one that then became a role.
Absolutely.
So you've been with River Island for how long now?
10 years. Yeah, 11 years next May, so like literally a lifetime. But it's not even felt like that, you know. Time has gone so quickly, and the role has just got bigger and bigger. And, you know, as you develop, you know, and new ways of doing things, before you know it, you know, another year's gone by and you're like, happy anniversary. Like, okay.
So what are some of the biggest differences you've noticed from when you started 10 years ago to now?
Well, in my role, because I'm recruiting all the time, so for me, I think it's more about, you know, being a bit more accepting or a bit more open to applications, making sure that, you know, I don't miss out on those that really put the effort in. And by effort, I mean that little bit different, you know, going out of their way to do something just that little bit different to catch your eye. It's that acknowledging that and, you know, thinking, this person's actually thinking outside the box a little bit. This is probably exactly who I need. You know, job role dependent, of course.
Of course. And what are some kind of standout examples that you can give us of people that have applied?
Oh, wow. Quite a few, actually. We had one lady who applied for a job and she was unsuccessful, unfortunately. But that didn't deter her. She actually sent us a video of herself. You know, she emailed and said, thanks very much for the opportunity. I appreciate I was unsuccessful, but I just want to put a face to the application. Absolutely. And she said, you know, if anything comes up, more than happy to come back in and everything. We were all in the office going, oh my goodness, look at her, like, what other jobs are available? Let's see, can we give her something, you know? But unfortunately there wasn't, but it's memorable and I know of her, and if anything ever came up, I'm thinking of her, you know. Another lady sent us a shoe, a River Island shoe, and she literally had minimised in font her CV, and so it was a platform shoe basically, and she literally had put her CV around the platform of the shoe.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was amazing. It was just like, oh my goodness me, like you can't ignore that.
You can't.
You know, you don't press a button and open it up and, you know, there's the application. Like the physical shoe is still in our office. But, you know, again, it wasn't for my field, unfortunately. So, you know, I didn't get to contact her, but my colleagues did.
The thought was there.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, it wasn't like necessarily successful, but it definitely stood out. Definitely.
And I think it's really important in this day and age to stand out. You know, fashion is the big thing.
Yeah.
And especially in recruitment, I'm sure that you see some candidates that come through and it's just like, maybe give me a bit more, do a bit more.
Absolutely. And it's so frustrating as well, because sometimes you get them and they're right in front of you and they're saying, now I want to do this and I want to do that and I want to do this. And you're like, okay, great. So what's your next steps? Like, what are you thinking? And they're like, oh, and you're like, come on, like you're just there, come on, you know, and you can't help them, you know, they've got to want it for themselves. But it has its ups and downs, because sometimes you're just like, really? Yeah. And then, you know, sometimes like, yay, come on, let's do this. Yeah.
That's it.
Definitely.
So if you were a young person wanting to start out in fashion, you know, whether it be becoming a fashion designer later on in life or maybe a merchandiser, do you think having a qualification or degree in fashion is something that is a requirement?
Yes and no. I think, you know, if you're a person that is good at studying, then go for it.
Right.
You know, because there's nothing wrong with having qualifications. But I think the world is changing where, you know, studying is not for everyone.
Of course.
You know, I went to uni and did RE and I'm not in that field at all.
Right.
You know, but if you can get into the business by doing other things, so whether it's work experience, apprenticeships, or even you're designing your own clothes from the get-go, you know, and you say, actually knock on a few doors and say, this is me, this is what I've got, can I work with you, how can we work together, how can we make this, you know, get out there, start a fashion blog, do whatever, you know, do what suits you, I say.
And in terms of the applicants that are applying for these jobs, I remember when I was, you know, back in school applying for jobs, we were always told, you know, if you have something on the side, don't you dare mention it, you know, kind of say, just make sure you stick to the requirements and you stick to the job description and just be that person. Do you think that's still the same now?
I think no, but I also think be wise in what you're disclosing, obviously. You know, I think if you're applying for a job where, you know, there isn't that much liberty, there isn't that much scope to be an individual, then don't necessarily disclose it and wait till perhaps you do have an interview, or if you get the job that you say, this is what I do on the side. And people are like, oh, that's amazing, wouldn't have thought that, or whatever the case. But if you're applying for somewhere like River Island, for example, we want to know what you're doing, because we want the person to come to the job, you know. We want to see everything about you, you know, and for us, it's just all the more, you know, adding to who you are as a person.
Right, it's so interesting, the difference, you know, as I said, from when I was back in school applying for, you know, my first sort of role in retail. If I had anything that I was sort of interested in, I wouldn't dare do that. So it's really encouraging.
Indeed. I mean, like, you know, we put it on our CVs, don't we? Like, you know, in my spare time, I like to do, you know, I play the recorder. I did for a very little time. But, you know, those kind of things. And I remember personally myself, like, you know, I was told if it wasn't in my record of achievement, I wasn't going anywhere. You know, exactly. You know, my little red folder. And I loved it, and I still have it, but I've never used it, you know? And I don't think if someone brought that to me at River Island, I'd be like, oh. I don't even know if they still do that anymore, but I'd be like, exactly, well, that's nice, but tell me about you. And in my role, when I'm telephone interviewing people, I don't always stick to the questions. And, you know, so when people say, you know, I'm a little bit nervous, and I'm like, just feel like you're talking to your best friend about what you did at work, and how you're underappreciated, or, you know, how much you had to do today and no one gets it. That's all I expect, because I want to know you. I want to know what you're bringing to the table. You know, anyone can read off a book or, you know, a CV and tell me what they've done. But I want to hear the person behind that.
That's it. That's it. So in terms of young people now, what can they really do to help make themselves stand out if they want to enter into the world of fashion?
I think commitment. I think, you know, I'm probably showing my age here, but I think there's a lot of young people that I've come across, and people in general, who expect something for nothing. And it's kind of like, you've got to do a bit of work, you know, it doesn't just happen like that. If that was the case, you know, I'd be, you know, on a sunny island somewhere, you know, relaxing. But just kind of, you know, be ready to put in the work and actually achieve it, you know, and just be yourself. I think, you know, if you're not the type of person that does well in interviews, get some practice in, you know?
That's a good point.
If you're not the type of person who is creative, then, you know, what are you good at? Can you make it into something that's going to give you money and allow you to live the life that you love doing? You know, I think just being true to yourself and staying, you know, that individual, you know, not necessarily conforming because we have to, because ultimately that Monday morning in December when you've got to get up to go to work, you know, you're going to need something to, you know, get you into gear and to get you through the door.
Oh, fantastic. And in terms of your own, you know, journey, is there anything that you maybe would have done differently?
Definitely. I think I would have been more, confident to do what I wanted to do and pursue what I wanted to do. Because I think, you know, looking back at it now, I was like, I know I want to do fashion, I know I want to do recruitment, but I haven't got experience of either, so I must go and get it. So, you know, I have recruitment experience now. I have, you know, the fashion experience, but when I know that I can talk, I know that, you know, I'm quite an engaging person and I love meeting new people. So I wish that I would have gone back and, you know, knocked on doors and said, actually, this is what I want to do. How do I get there? You know, if they sent me away to go and study, fair enough. But at least I would have knocked on the door and asked the question.
Yeah, I think it's so important that, you know, you said about understanding what you're good at and really focusing on and celebrating that.
Totally.
I think is key because we're all so different and also unique. So I think that's such an important point. So, are there any parting words, any sort of words of advice that you would give young people that may be watching this?
Yeah, just be yourself, you know, really be yourself. And, you know, if you've got an idea or if you want to achieve something, be prepared to work for it. You know, I don't want to say it, but there are a lot of people who I've come across who kind of expect something for nothing. And sometimes you actually have to put in the work to kind of achieve things. And I think as long as you're committed to doing that, then, you know, you've got a head start already. And then there's also follow social media, you know, companies that you're interested in. Like Forever Island, we're all over social media. So whether it be LinkedIn, Snapchat, Insta, all of the above, you know, get involved, see what the companies are doing. And where you can get involved, where even if you put a message on about something that's happened, you know, there may not be an instant, you know, reply, there may not be an instant link to what you're currently doing, but it's about cultivating relationships as well. So, you know, 6 months down the line, you never know, it'd be like, actually, I know someone who's done this, or I remember doing that. And it happens from there. It's just about, you know, getting in there and kind of making